Donna Hanson is our secretary, and Donna is at the reception table. And finally, Vicki Fay, again there, taking the money, is our treasurer. Let me also introduce you a few people that really are the backbone of our Republican Party here in Monroe County. First, let me introduce Debbie Goodman, who's our chairwoman, the Monroe County Republican Party. Steve Hammond is our secretary. Steve's sitting there. He's very shy, as we all know, Steve. Ann O'Bannon is our treasurer. And where is Ann? She's there. Ann, right there. Ann is not shy. I'm a man of few words. You well know that. No. Whatever I am, I am. Tony Apple is the county chairwoman. And where is Tony? I know she's here. There's Tony. She is who, among other things, represents us in Tallahassee and where we typically be in Mickey Mouse Land. And our chairman is none other than Greg Goebel, my good friend. County chairman, state committeeman, whatever you are, you are. I never get that right, but you're somebody who does something for the party. Let me also introduce you the most important people here tonight. They're the ones that made this happen. They're the ones who spent many long hours thinking about what to do, getting everybody together, making all of this happen. And I'm really proud to introduce all of them. First, Gary Bauman and Barbara Bauman. Where are you, Gary and Barbara? There they are. There's Barbara and there's Gary. Vicki Fay. Where is Vicki? Oh, Vicki was at the front. You saw her before. My dear friend, Holly Merrill. Everybody knows Holly. And again, Donna Hanson is everywhere and does everything. There's Donna, back there. She's also part of the committee. And finally, Diane Sorensen, who assisted us in many ways, especially in... She was very helpful in revealing some secrets that we're going to reveal tonight about Ken.
Is that Ken's oldest daughter?
One of them. Before I get into the roast, and we'll introduce some of the special guests. Holly Merrill, would you come up? And anytime you come to an Upper Keith Republican Club event, we do this. So Holly's going to let you know why we're here and how we can stay doing what we do.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening to honor a very dear and special man to us and to the entire community, and especially to me. And I want to encourage everybody who lives in the Upper Keys or otherwise to become a member of the Upper Keys Republican Club. I believe we have a website that you can go to at www.keysgop.com. We have a page on there. You can see Vicki after tonight's event, or make sure she has your email address and otherwise. And we just want to encourage people to join, build our membership. Go GOP.
Good job, Holly. There are some elected officials and others that I want to introduce to you. But first I want to thank Bob Marshall from Rib Daddy. See, if you like the food, Bob, he's the guy who's responsible for it. Bob, we really appreciate it. Thank you. We have with us this evening from the school board, John Dick. Where are you, John? Don't be shy. John is our Republican man on the board. He's been doing a great job and trying to save us some money despite others' efforts. My good friend Norman Higgins is on the wastewater taxing district. Norman? Everybody knows Norm. Also, Charlie Brooks is here from the wastewater taxing district. Where's Charlie? There he is. We almost had everybody from the wastewater taxing district here. Andy Tobin is your bartender with the bottle to his mouth. Never a man to allow liquor to go to waste. Andy's also on the wastewater taxing district. Now we have a couple of guys who are smarter than all of you elected officials because they saw the light. Steve Brabantski is former member of the school board. And Steve decided he'd had enough. he served us well. And one other star locally, and that's my friend Bob Johnson, who is of late a member of the Village Council, Village Bottom Council. He also thought it was better to do what I do, and that is help candidates. Well, sort of. Okay, we're about to begin, but I have a couple of, let's call it guidelines for the speakers. There are certain things where it's sort of, a little sensitive, Ken's sensitive, so we're sort of not going to talk about certain things. You know that Ken is the, I guess he's really the architect of the wastewater testing district. If you don't know that, that was one of his, I guess, his babies that he's very proud of. So we're not going to say things, kind of funny about that or cruel. We're not going to say, Ken, I'm not going to talk about you being the dog doo-doo. So we're not going to do that. Remember that, guys. And we're not going to say things like he'd rather be number 2 than number 1. And during his tenure on the county commission, he earned quite a reputation. So for those of you who know Ken well, I want you to know that we're not going to mention anything about him being the chairman of the board. And that's off limits. And we're not also going to not say things like he's the kind of guy who would give up his chair to anyone who needs it, whether they know it or not. It's an inside story. Those of you who know Ken will remember that. So now we're at that point that you've all been waiting for, and I'm going to introduce our first roaster, the inimitable Man About Town. He's known to some as the Italian Stallion. Others, I think he trips the light fandango on occasion. My good buddy, Chris Santi.
Thanks, Nick. They asked me to come here and roast Ken, and I said it's going to be kind of tough because this is a weekend where so many things going on. So I wasn't supposed to mention this, but they promised me and everybody free food so we'd show up. So it obviously worked. I was fortunate when I first got into politics. Ken and Murray Nelson were my mentors, and I was able to watch Ken in action. And what amazed me was the way he smoothly handled bills in Tallahassee. 50s and 100s were his favorite. I also found out, as you get older, you want to know about your family history and your roots. Ken explained to me the best way to do that is to run for office. And you'll find out, like in Ken's family history, you'll find out that he loves bar fights. Before politics and during politics. And even now, if somebody gets in front of him for a scotch, you could run and have a wrist in. So be careful. And there's a few other items, Ken. I wanted to tell you, David Rice couldn't be here, and he wanted me to thank you for all his support and quick wit over the years you've provided to him. And with that, I want to wish them the best and tell them honestly, Ken and Murray Nelson were my mentors, and I always felt like I did a good job, and I owe it all to Ken. Thank you, Ken.
Great job, Chris. I was reminded earlier that some of you might want to see Ken's reaction to all of this. So we're going to have Ken move over to another chair. I'm going to bring him up here so you can enjoy all of the pain and embarrassment that Ken has experienced.
There's nothing wrong with me. It's on me.
Yeah, Wendy's ready.
Behind you all the way.
Next to your wallet, behind you.
Mine's gone.
Okay, Ken, are you ready?
Why do you want a bar fight?
Later, after the event. I also want to introduce our next roaster, a very close friend of Ken's. He flew in to be here, especially to honor Ken in his own inimitable way. Bob Levy, where are you? Come on up. Thank you, Nick. I liked it better over there. Is Chris still here? You made it easy to follow you, Chris. Oh, that's right. This is about Ken. I'm going to kind of mix a little bit of fun and a little few serious notes, because I had the pleasure of knowing Ken for his entire legislative career, which, thanks to term limits, was only 8 years. A mutual friend of ours brought us together, a guy by the name of Tom Kirby, from the Farm Bureau. And when I met Ken, there were 7 candidates in the race, I think. And I said, why would I support Ken? So Tom told me a little bit about his background, told me a little bit about his principles, his integrity, his thinking, his philosophy. Then he introduced me to Diane. Okay, now I get it. So I decided I would support Ken over the 7 candidates. And thankfully, good for me, because, by the way, my business is in Tallahassee, so which is where I flew in from. And as you can imagine, it's not easy to get anywhere from Tallahassee, and it's not easy to get to Tallahassee, which is a good thing for all of you, because nothing good is happening in Tallahassee right now. A couple stories. I was a paratrooper in the Army. So I went to Ken and I said, you know, I think we should, there's all these tags, all these specialty tags. There's 100 specialty tags in Florida. Why can't we have a paratrooper tag? He said, well, we can. I'll file the bill, we'll do it, we'll make it happen. So he filed the bill, and then he said to me, and we passed it, by the way, and he said to me, do you think you can get me tag number 001? So I called Fred Dickinson, then the head of the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. I said, we need 001 for the bill sponsor. So he made it happen. The only problem, unbeknownst to me, we put in the bill, I just imagine, as you all know, Ken's a retired pilot. I always assumed that a pilot knew how to get out of an airplane in the air. I wouldn't fly an airplane if I didn't know how to get out of it in the air. Apparently that's not the case. And you had to be airborne qualified. We actually put that in the statute. You had to be airborne qualified to get the license tag. So I'm proud to tell you that I got 001. Because I just told Norman Higgins, who, as you all know, was a grunt, when he told me that my hotel was at mile marker 100 and that the Caribbean Club was at mile marker 104, and that if I wanted to perhaps drink a few drinks too many, that I'd be able to walk back. I said, Norman, you were the grunt. You want me to walk 4 miles, get me in an airplane, and drop me over the hotel. I'll be fine. And by the way, Ken prefers that we not call it taxing district, not taxing district. We call it authority. It's not a taxing district. He doesn't like taxes. You saw the sign about the Cavassier and root beer. Those of you that have ever had a drink with Ken, and I'm sure there's very few of you that have, we were once in the late afternoon, actually at the end of a very tiring day, which I'm going to share with you, and we went to a place called Andrews on the corner right outside the Capitol, and Ken ordered, a young waitress, a FSU co-ed, came over and said, can I help you? And Ken said, I'd like the Cavassier and root beer. So she walked off, and I had heard Ken do that 100 times. And they always come back and say, I'm sorry, we don't have root beer. Oh, well then I'll have a scotch. Well, this enterprising waitress came back and said, I hope you don't mind, I've substituted Mr. Pibb for the root beer. And he's a sport. I want you to know he drank it. And I said, you don't have to drink that, Ken. He said, oh yeah, I have to drink this. I'm going to tell you a story about Ken and Diane, actually. Everyone wonders, you know, Ken was a pilot, Diane was a flight attendant, and this is actually a true story.
comes from the Annals of Ken. It's a book that I think maybe the President of the Senate, that's going to be his next book. So this beautiful young blonde woman boards a plane to New York with a ticket in coach. She looks at the seats in coach, looks into the first class cabin. Seeing first class is a lot larger, more comfortable. She moves forward to the last seat in first class. Diane was then a flight attendant. She walks over and she says, "I'm sorry, but your ticket is in coach." The blonde replies, "I'm young, I'm beautiful, and I've never had a problem sitting in first class. I'm going to sit here until we get to New York." Flustered, Diane went to the cockpit and she tells the captain of the blonde problem. Well, that captain was Ken. He goes back and he whispers in the blonde's ear. She gets up, she hugs him, and she rushes back to the seat in coach. Diane says, "What did you tell her?" "I told her first class isn't going to New York." Now, y'all know that Ken not only served under a speaker, but then stayed on to work for the next speaker. And the current speaker, when I told him I was coming down to a roast for Ken, said, "I'm going to give you something I want you to share with everyone, because I want you to know how much we really value Ken's input into our public policy these days." You know, they're talking about immigration. Now, you all know a little bit about immigration because you actually may have a problem here. I don't know, you know, when you're sitting in Tallahassee, to me, immigration is like trying to keep people out of Florida from Georgia and Alabama. So the speaker shared with me, this was Ken's email to him just a couple weeks ago because they're trying to deal with the immigration issue. He said, "I think it's time to reevaluate our involvement. Every day there's news reports of more deaths. Why are we still letting them in? We see images of death and destruction on TV every night. We took this land by force, we occupied it, it caused us nothing but trouble. Why are we still in Iraq?" Many of our children go there but never come back. Murders, rapists, pedophiles, thugs enjoy celebrity status. Their government is unstable. Many of their people are uncivilized. Their land is subject to natural disasters, and we are obliged to come to their aid. They have more than 1,000 religious sects which we don't understand. Their cultures, foods, and diverse ways of life are unfathomable to most ordinary Americans. They can't secure their borders. They're billions of dollars in debt. It'll cost billions more to rebuild. It's now quite clear to me. We have to stop people from leaving California. Another story from the Annals of Ken. A woman's in a hot air balloon. She realizes she's lost. She lowers her altitude, spots Ken in a boat underneath her. She shouts to him, "Excuse me, can you help me? I promised a friend I'd meet him an hour ago, but I don't know where I am." Ken pulled out his portable GPS. Now, y'all know that's not true because he doesn't have a portable GPS. Replied, "You're in a hot air balloon approximately 30 feet above a ground elevation of 2,300 feet above sea level. You're at 31 degrees, 14.97 minutes north latitude." She rolled her eyes, she looked at him, she said, "You must be a Republican." He said, "I am, but how did you know?" "Well," the woman said, "everything you told me is technically correct, but I have no idea what to do with the information. I'm still lost. Frankly, you haven't been of any help to me." Ken smiled, he said, "Well, you must be a Democrat." "I am," she said, "but how did you know?" "Well," said the man, "you don't know where you are or where you're going. You've risen where you are due to a large quantity of hot air. You made a promise you have no idea how to keep. You expect me to solve your problem. You're in exactly the same position you were in before we met, but somehow now it's my fault." So I want to close with two pieces. One, a true story that really speaks in a serious vein about the person that Ken Sorensen is. I'm sure that the name Bert Harris doesn't mean much to many people in this room. It's a land use, it's mostly an agricultural land issue. It's about zoning, code enforcement. And there was a very adversarial bill about 5 years ago. Terrible bill. It would have probably ended down zoning in the state of Florida. Terrible bill for communities, particularly like the Keys, very concerned about growth. Ken was the council chairman. So we went to see Ken and explained to him exactly how bad this bill was. Ken said, well, I'm going to put this in my drawer. Until I get a call from the 4th floor, it won't go on my agenda. Well, I got that call at the 6th or 7th week of session. So we went to, so the bill was heard, unfortunately, in Ken's council. And Ken made a deal. He said he would hear the bill if they would accept his amendments to make the bill better. And they did. They accepted his amendments. As soon as it passed out of his council, they sent it to the next committee, stripped off the amendments, and sent it to the floor. Ken was furious. We were furious. What can you do? It's very hard to fight. Ken went on the floor of the House, and I've been in Tallahassee 30 years, and I have never seen a speech the likes of which Ken Sorensen gave that day. He stood on the floor, asked for a point of personal privilege, and you know, everything in Tallahassee is scripted. I don't know how you all feel about that. I was shocked when I learned it. That on the floor, everything is scripted. You will recognize the representative from District 12. Representative. Everything's scripted except that day. Ken got up, dead silence in the chambers, which if you've ever been there, you know never happens. Dead silence. Ken spoke for a solid 20 minutes. And he talked about integrity, and he talked about morals, and he talked about right and wrong. And he said, when you push that button, if you have any backbone, if you have any integrity, any morals left, you will push the red button and vote no. And you know what? We won that day. Doesn't happen often. So my final note, y'all think that Ken is retired. But I learned that he started a new chapter down here. There used to be a group called, most of you, I don't see anyone in the room that qualifies, but you know that there's a group called the AARP. Well, Ken said to Diane, I'm not joining the AARP. I don't care about those discounts. I'm not joining. So he started his own group. And they asked me to come here tonight and bestow this certificate of membership on him. So let me read it to you. Whereas Ken Sorensen represents the highest ideals and principles of the Buccaneer lifestyle, therefore we subscribe Captain Dr. Ken Sorensen into the order of the Brethren of the ARG. That stands for the American Association of Retired, Reprehensible, Rapacious Rabbit Guys. By decree of the Great Fire Code, Captain Sorensen.
As I said earlier, Ken, it isn't going to get any better. That was great. Bob said, he actually flew in from Tallahassee for the sole purpose of being here with Ken. It tells you a little bit about the kinds of friends he has and the collegiality he enjoyed while he was your state representative. We also have, by the way, before I forget, somebody who also flew in from a bit of a distance, and that's Chuck Tittle sitting in the back, probably one of Ken's oldest friends here in the Keys, and he flew in from, I believe it is Orlando? So he, again, it tells you a little bit about how much people really care about you, Ken. Our next roaster is, probably needs no introduction. She's a gal about town. She is the brains of the, not only Ken, when he was a state representative, but also she serves, which is attributed to her, the way she does her job, and as well as she does it, she also serves as the aide to Ron Saunders, a Democrat. Come on up, Holly.
Thank you, Nick. The girl's got to get her paycheck. All right. So I've had the pleasure of working under two of the most legendary men in Tallahassee. Three, absolutely. I wasn't going to mention Ron, but because this is a Republican function, but he's legendary as well. So three legendary men in Tallahassee. One, of course, being Mr. Bob Levy, who taught me, I thought, everything I know. And then he introduced me to Representative Ken Sorensen. Ken took a chance on a college kid. He hired me directly after graduating from Florida State University. Go Noles. And I moved down here to the Florida Keys, never having been to the Keys once. And I lived in his garage for the first 3 months of my tenure here in the Florida Keys. Yeah, it might have been, but it was great. We called it the Garage Mahal. If you all have ever been there, it was wonderful. I'd go back. And Ken, being the ever-present professor that he is, he taught me many important lessons. And one of those lessons was dealing with the press. Well, in our business, we all know, our current governor isn't too friendly with the press, but he'll come around soon. I know he will. But I had a constituent case that I was working, and lo and behold, Ken wasn't in the office one day, but I was there, so I picked up the phone, and there was a reporter on the other line asking me about this case I had worked on, and I was a rookie, and I proceeded to tell him everything I knew about the case. And so the next Saturday, you all know what paper is published on the Saturdays, there was my name, working for Representative Ken Sorensen. And I got a phone call. Holly, when did you talk to this reporter? Oh, I talked to him, on Thursday. I worked this case and all that. So I always wondered why Ken had kept a button at his desk that said, "Trust me, I'm a reporter." Steve, no offense, Steve. We're good friends. So I learned the dealings with the press lesson the hard way. He also asked that I type out a big, bold letter sign and stick it right in front of my desk so I could see it every day, in quotations, "Think politically." And that sign, Ken, I'm proud to say, still is up in front of my desk to this day. Yes, thank you. I just have a couple little small things I want to mention. I asked around in Tallahassee, and Ken's well known and well remembered. Ken, do you remember the rubber band? Do you still wear your rubber bands?
But I do remember.
Yes, Ken used to wear a rubber band, or 2 or 3, around his wrist. He was trying to quit smoking, and every time he would want a cigarette, he would snap himself with a rubber band. Really hard, too, by the way. We used to have staff meetings at Old Tavernier. Those are the best staff meetings anybody ever heard of, Old Tavernier. Our office was right below Old Tavernier, if you all remember. Well, it's still there. He deeded it to his predecessor, my current boss. More seriously, Ken always taught me to be truthful. He said, even when your vote, which is your most important thing that you hold when you're a legislator or otherwise, is your vote. And even though this person could be a friend or whatever, if you have to tell them, no, I cannot vote for your bill, you tell them no. And that's it, and you stick to your guns. Never lie. Something else that Ken did as chairman of the Local Government Affairs Committee is many, many people would come and testify on certain local bills. Everybody has local bills. And he would say, the Bill of Rights can be read in just under 3 minutes. And it was one of the most important documents ever written. So to facilitate this hearing, I would appreciate if you would keep your testimony at that same time frame. And he would also say, yes and no are perfectly good answers as well. Some people adhered to that, some people didn't, and he always kept a watchful eye on the clock. Thank you, Ken. And for those of you who ever went into his district office, right above his chair, he kept a pig with wings on it, and it was automated. And so if you ever, even his staff or say a constituent or a lobbyist or whatever would walk into his office with an idea or a notion or a budget request or whatever, and you knew if he stood up and turned the pig on that it was a no. You would think it would be a yes because pigs were flying, but if he turned the pig on, whatever you were asking for was definitely a no. And so Ken, I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm not going to get emotional, for everything that you've done for me. And I know I'm not going to get emotional. And, yeah, you have given me my entire, well, Mr. Levy, of course you did too, but moving to the Keys has changed my life, and I love you. Thanks.
Thank you, Holly. That's obviously from your heart. We're going to take a break right now. The cake is being served, so please partake, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Good angle too.
Next.
Sorry, you've gotten some misinformation because we do have a big representative.
Yeah, I'm
Smaller, right?
If I got here too late with the video.
Yeah. You got